Now the latest from ITV News Meridian with Sangeeta Barbara and Fred Dinage.
Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the south. Roads closed, police everywhere. The city is brought to a standstill as a jewellery shop in Winchester is targeted by armed robbers.
Spiralling debts forces Sussex College to close 3 years after a £30 million refurbishment. So what now for its students?
Let battle commence. The EU, remain or leave. We ask campaigners, how are you going to convince us?
And from grey skies to warmer climes, how Southampton has become a gateway to the world.
Good evening to you. An armed robbery brought a city to a standstill today after a raid at a jewellery shop in Winchester.
Today, a worker at Justice Jewellers on Parchment Street told ITV Meridian how a gun was held to the owner's head as he arrived to open the shop. Several road closures were put in place in the St George's Street area. 3
men have been arrested, as Mary Stanley reports.
A fleet of police cars, officers with guns chasing down the street, and a city centre sealed off after a robbery on a jeweller's. It's a scene rarely witnessed in the normally tranquil Winchester.
I noticed a police officer over the road with a riot shield, with his hand ready to grab something and shouting. And then another one turns up, and then out of nowhere about 5 police cars come bombing around the one-way system. But you never see something like that, especially like armed police. I've only seen that on like the bill.
It was just after 9 o'clock this morning when 3 armed robbers walked into the Justice Jewellers here in the centre of Winchester. At that time, the city was busy with people heading to work and opening up their shops, and those who witnessed this raid have been left in shock. Among them, Emily Scarr, who was opening up her cafe close to the jewellers. She and early morning customers were told to stay indoors.
I looked up and I was just like, that guy's got a gun? And it was a policeman, but they were doing all their kind of around the corner kind of thing. And from then on, there was 2 of them, but they weren't really going in or anything. And then suddenly 5 cars came, guy with a dog, and then 2 guys came with big guns.
Another witness captured this moment as police step in when a suspected getaway car gets stuck behind a bin lorry.
There was a van parked here, and then behind the van there was a man on the floor being pinned down by police, 2 or 3 police on him and a couple of police cars behind.
And you must have been quite shocked.
Yeah, of course, because you don't know what's going on, and you saw some of them had pistols on.
No one was injured in the raid, but shop workers have been traumatised by the ordeal. Police say they've recovered jewellery from the surrounding area, and 3 men from London and Hertfordshire are tonight in custody. Mary Stanley, ITV News, Winchester.
Meanwhile, CCTV footage has been released of 3 men police want to talk to in Bracklesham Bay in West Sussex. 3 people were filmed ransacking a home on West Bracklesham Drive on Friday the 11th of March while the owners were away. A number of items were stolen, including a gold pencil worth £450, some gold coins and cufflinks.
A former soldier has told a court-martial that he would never have forced himself on a female colleague. 28-year-old Thomas Fulton, pictured here on the right with the beard, is one of 2 ex-Royal Military Police corporals accused of raping Corporal Anne-Marie Element from Bournemouth in 2009. Mr Fulton denied he had humiliated Anne-Marie, who died 5 years ago on an evening in the mess before assaulting her in a barracks room. He said she had consented to sex despite being drunk. He and Jeremy Jones deny rape. The court-martial continues.
Dozens of children have been told they must find somewhere else to study after the sudden announcement that a college in West Sussex is to close.
Yes, high debts have forced Central Sussex College to shut both its East Grinstead and Haywoods Heath campuses. 19 staff will be made redundant.
Well, over to Louise Lewis in our newsroom. Louise, this has come as a real shock to everyone, hasn't it?
Yes, we've been contacted by students who were expecting to start their A-level courses in September only to find out yesterday the campuses at both East Grinstead and Haywards Heath were to close. They're angry that they were only shown around the college 3 weeks ago and that bosses must have known something was wrong.
It couldn't have come at a worse time because Alice is currently studying for her GCSEs, revising. There's a lot of pressure on her at the moment, and now we have an added pressure of going to find another college, more interview process. So yes, it couldn't have come at a worse time.
Well, what's angered many parents is the Haywards Heath campus only underwent a £30 million refurbishment 3 years ago, giving no indication it was likely to shut. So the question is, was the refurbishment responsible for the spiralling debts which has forced the college to shut?
Yes, that decision has contributed very significantly to the position that we're in at the moment. And the second reason is that we have seen falling numbers at Haywards Heath over the last 3 years.
So, Louise, what happens now to the students?
Well, those who are halfway through their A-levels will still be able to finish their courses next summer. Meanwhile, those who are hoping to start this September are receiving support to find interviews at other colleges.
We shall find out what happens, Louise. Thank you very much for now.
A man has appeared in court after the death of a mother of two during a crash in Dorset. 49-year-old Teresa Cutler was returning from a funeral when her Ford Fiesta collided with a BMW near Lake Gates at Wimborne. 25-year-old Lewis Faulkner from Dorchester is charged with 5 offences, including causing death by dangerous driving.
Some good news for you. Victory tonight for families across the south fighting for a life-changing drug to be made available on the NHS. Translana can delay the effects of the muscle-wasting disease Duchenne muscular dystrophy if it's prescribed while the children affected are still mobile. Up until now, it's not been available in the UK. We shall have more on that decision on Monday.
You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Coming up, the weather with Simon, plus why 10,000 people are heading to Brighton seafront this weekend. Will you be one of them?
Plus, on our website tonight, the story of a real little fighter. Isabel had been battling a heart condition since birth. Well, now her mum Kimberly is sharing her story with us. Go to our website and Facebook page to find out more, and find out also what her mum is trying to do next.
The phony war is over and the battle has started for real. You'd think the EU referendum campaign had been going on for longer, but only today did it officially get underway, with some visits by well-known politicians to our region.
Yes, some MPs have lent their weight to the Leave campaign, others to the Remain, but there's still 10 weeks of this. Voting's on June the 23rd.
In Southampton this evening, a rally by the Leave supporters is taking place.
And in London, UKIP's leader and South East MEP Nigel Farage took a letter to Number 10 to complain about the recent pro-EU government leaflets delivered to all households. We shall be hearing more from Mr Farage soon. But earlier I caught up with Hove's Labour MP Peter Kyle, who's totally behind his leader Jeremy Corbyn in staying in the European Union. I asked him why.
Because we have a big decision to make, and it's about the future of our country, not just for this week and this year and the next decade. It's about the future of our country for generations. I think that our country is better placed to bring influence, to make influence, and to solve the big challenges we face as a nation if we are working in complete cooperation with 27 other neighbouring states.
What about today's comments by the Leave campaign about using the money spent on EU membership on the NHS instead? That'll get a few votes, won't it?
What they want to do is just oversimplify the debate. What about having a stable Europe? How good is that for our economy? And if our economy is growing and is stable, then that generates far more revenue than we've been talking about today.
Peter, let's be honest, the Tories making a far stronger case for Remain than Labour. Jeremy Corbyn's attempt to persuade us to vote in has been described as utterly unconvincing. Isn't that a bit embarrassing?
You know, I'm not going to jump down that rabbit hole that you've just put in front of me. This is not a party political issue. All parties are united overall in the need for us to stay within the European Union, and that's where our future is best served.
But why has the Remain campaign relied on frightening the electorate? Project Fear, doomsday if we leave the EU. It's not the positive campaign we deserve, is it?
We are putting forward a positive vision. Everything I've said in this interview is about a positive future for our country, economically and socially. There are some very scary consequences if Britain leaves the European Union. For our security, our national security, our economic prosperity, our ability to influence the rest of the world. These are important things for us. If we lose these things, we're diminished as a country, and that is a scary prospect.
Peter Carr, very briefly, what do you think the result is going to be, honestly?
I honestly think that that we will win this referendum, that we will vote to stay in the European Union, and I think we'll do so for positive reasons. The closer we get to the referendum, the more seriously people will be thinking about it, and the more seriously you think about this issue, the more convincing the case for remaining in the European Union is.
Always good to talk to you, Peter Carr. Thank you very much.
Those then the views of the campaign to remain in the EU. Earlier I caught up with South East MEP Nigel Farage. Mr Farage, thank you for talking to us. You're a member of the European Parliament. Why do you want us to leave the EU?
Well, I am a member of the European Parliament, and the longer I've been there, the more I've seen it isn't working. The euro isn't working. The handling of the migrant crisis isn't working. And it's interesting, isn't it? When the Danes had a referendum in December, they said no to European justice and home affairs. The Dutch had a referendum last Wednesday saying no to a trade deal and enlargement to include the Ukraine. When the Greeks had a referendum on the bailout terms, they said no. And now it's our chance.
Now, it's true, though, that we have no idea about what will happen if we do leave. It's all speculation, if not scaremongering.
Well, there's lots of scaremongering. There are people who should know better telling us that unless we're part of the European Union, unless our lives are governed by a bunch of unelected old men in Brussels, all trade would cease. That is baloney. Every country in the world trades with the European Union. The question is on what terms. We are the biggest export market in the world now for the Eurozone. They need us far more than we need them. And if little countries like Norway and Switzerland can find trade deals that suit them, we can do even better than that.
Now, the question has already split the government. You'll be sharing the stage now with senior Tories. How can voters expect to make sense of all of this?
I'm going to share a platform on Monday with Chris Grayling, the Cabinet Minister. I shared a platform a few weeks ago with George Galloway. So we've got the entire political spectrum that I'm prepared to share a platform with, because to me, this question of whether we're a democratic, self-governing nation is not about left and right, it's about right and wrong. And I want us to be a democratic, independent country that controls its borders.
So what do you think will happen honestly on June the 23rd?
Our voters are absolutely determined. If you have to drag them on a stretcher and ask them to vote in blood, they're going to go down to the polling booth on the 23rd of June. And I'm becoming increasingly optimistic that June the 23rd, 2016 will become Independence Day for this country.
And while we've got you, all the main party leaders have now published their tax returns. The fact that you haven't, doesn't that undermine your credibility?
So a week ago, no party leader had published their tax returns. And now, because Mr Cameron can't come clean, the whole of public life, without thinking and in a panic, say they will publish their tax returns. I've no idea where this will end. Presumably, we'll have to ask police officers to do the same. Oh, and TV presenters. And where do we end with this? So I'm saying, look, this is ridiculous. People actually have a right to privacy. People have a right to have their own relationship with the tax authorities. And I think what Mr Cameron has done and the response to it, frankly, has been ludicrous.
Nigel Farage, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
And plenty of views on our Facebook page. Susie Hull from Southampton says she's out of the EU. My bias booklet, she says, has been returned to sender. That money should go to the NHS.
Mark Palmer says, I hope these people screaming out will be happy to forfeit their 28 days paid holiday, their workers' protection, their right to work, live or study anywhere in Europe.
And Mr Wilson says, I quite like the Remain, but I also like the Leave. There's only one way to find out. There is indeed, Miss Starr. Thanks for all your comments.
Well, across the ITV Meridian region, as things stand tonight, 40 of our MPs wish to remain in the European Union. 31 want to leave, 8 are undecided.
Find out what our MPs want to do on our website, itv.com/Meridian. And of course, throughout the campaign, we shall be hearing from both sides.
More Europe talk now. It's Sarah with the sport.
Thank you very much, Sangeeta. Yes, Southampton continue their push to secure European football when they travel to Everton tomorrow. With talks to keep manager Ronald Koeman at the club beyond 2017 believed to be in progress, Chairman Ralph Kruger says Saints are capable of reaching Europe again this season.
It's an extremely competitive group that we're fighting for. The spots between 5 and 9, I think, will go down to the last match, and we believe we have the depth this year to pull it through over the finish line. We didn't have this depth last season, and we sure didn't have it 2 years ago. But when you look at our bench right now, we've come a long way in that respect, and we hope that's a difference maker here in the end.
Bournemouth host Liverpool on Sunday, fresh from their incredible victory in Europe last night. Boss Eddie Howe has praised the footballing community for the support given to midfielder Harry Arter's online auction, raising funds to help bereaved parents after the midfielder lost his daughter at birth. The auction closes on Monday. Arter is currently out with an Achilles problem. In the Championship, Brighton host Fulham tonight. The Seagulls could take the opportunity to move up into an automatic promotion place. Reading are at Leeds tomorrow, and in League One, Swindon host Bury. A couple of crucial games for Oxford and Portsmouth, both hoping to secure promotion from League Two. Second place Oxford play Luton at the Kassam, and Portsmouth, who are in 6th place, face Plymouth, the team who sit just 2 points above them. Crawley Town, meanwhile, are at playoff chasing Wimbledon. Congratulations to Salisbury FC, the Phoenix club, reformed to join the Sydenham's Wessex Premier League last year, clinched the title with a 3-0 win over Horndean last night. The GB rowers, likely to be heading to Rio for the Paralympics, have been on the water at Caversham today. Heading up the team is Tom Agar from Maidenhead in the arms-only single scull event. The 4-times world champion is the longest-serving member of the squad.
We've set them the challenge up to this point of just trying to improve on their individual best from last season, and that's been where their efforts have been, and we see some really good progress there. So the squad's pretty much sorted for Rio now. It's now a case of taking those 9 athletes that are likely to go to Rio and making sure they stay healthy and making sure they deliver the results come September.
Now, some of the best long-distance runners in the world have arrived in Brighton for Sunday's annual marathon. The event is now in its 7th year, with around 10,000 people taking part. Both last year's champions are back to defend their titles, while many others are running to raise money for good causes. Malcolm Shaw has been meeting some of them.
ITV Meridian Sport Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
Kenyan athletes have dominated the Brighton Marathon. Duncan Mayo, the fastest man last year, and Penina Wanjiru, the quickest woman. And they're back this year, defending their titles.
This year there is a big competitors compared to the last year. So I will not say that I will be the winner, but God willing, I would like to be the winner.
Last year, let me say I tried because it was my first marathon and I put 2:34. This round I want to challenge my course record.
The Brighton Marathon regularly attracts around 10,000 runners. This, its 7th year, set to be a record breaker.
Our numbers are up about 20% on last year, so we'll have record numbers coming across the finish line of the Brighton Marathon on Sunday, Madeira Drive. We're very optimistic, and I think we've got good reason to be at the moment.
This morning, an air of nervous excitement as the amateur runners picked up their race packs. Many are raising money for good causes close to their hearts, Anthony Robertson among them.
I'm running for St Barnabas House, and sadly my dad passed away in September last year, and they were amazing at looking after him in the final days.
So far, the marathon has raised £35 million for charity, and it's become a battleground for some of the world's top athletes. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Brighton.
luck to you all. There is more information on our website. And do give our cameras a smile on your way round, or maybe it'll be a bit of a grimace.
If it's not too painful.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank
Brilliant.
you very much indeed. A warm summer is what many of us are hoping for, of course, but talking of holidays, competition's hotting up at our airports.
Southampton will see a record number of new airlines and routes to Europe in the coming weeks. Many flights will link into so-called hubs where you can continue your journey to destinations all around the world.
Yes, for many it could prove an alternative to travelling to Heathrow and Gatwick.
Well, the first of the new routes was launched today. Our transport correspondent Mike Pearce was on the first flight.
Munich Airport at 6:30 this morning and the first flight to Southampton. With Heathrow full and Gatwick filling up fast, airlines are increasingly using regional airports to link in with their European hubs that offer onward destinations all over the world. Today's launch was BMI Regional, a time with Lufthansa offers many connections from Munich.
With how difficult it is to get to Heathrow, if you drive with the M25, it's constantly solid, and the train connections just aren't good enough to get there easily, I don't think. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it'd be perfect.
My daughter's getting married in Germany next year, so we'll probably have booked the whole plane out for the family to go out there, so it'll be great.
Yeah, we do a lot of travel, and we always have to go to Heathrow and the busier airports. This is on our doorstep, so the more the merrier.
Do you think this in some ways can be complementary to Heathrow and Gatwick, because Heathrow's full, Gatwick's filling up fast, is a whole runway issue?
We certainly believe that's the case. The whole southwest area of London is an attractive catchment area. I think Southampton is a very convenient way of getting there.
But it's not just BMI and Lufthansa. In the coming weeks we'll see KLM offering worldwide connections from Amsterdam. Bags are checked in from Southampton to the final destination. Even Flybe are joining the party by linking up with Virgin Atlantic flights to the United States from Manchester. There are also new destinations to Southern Ireland and Spain. Well, according to our research, taking a long-haul flight from Southampton via a European hub costs about the same as going from Heathrow or Gatwick direct. But of course, there's more choice and you don't have to travel to one of the main airports.
Heathrow's full, Gatwick's pretty well full, so at the end of the day Southampton represents a real viable alternative. People know us for being fast and easy and friendly to get through.
And it all adds up to a prosperous time ahead for the South Coast Airport. Mike Pearce, ITV News, Southampton Airport.
Simon's with us now, and you're going to say it's beautiful weather here this weekend, so stay at home, don't go anywhere on a plane.
No, I'm probably not going to say that, but I might say it's not the worst weekend we've ever seen. But who cares? Yes. Horrible day today, so to take your mind off it, some things to make you go, ah. So now you can't not, can you? From Emma Carlton.
Cute.
Lamb's very big at the minute. Well, they're quite little, but you know what I mean. But sunrise or sunset, what do you think?
Oh, sunrise.
It is sunrise.
Well done, Fred.
Trevor Cridlin in Tame found some with some unusual markings on. No, that's a bit like my dog has markings like that. And meanwhile, here's proof that babies can sleep anywhere. Look, from Terry Clone, isn't that nice? How sweet are these bunnies that Mary Bayliss found snuggled up in Winterbourne in Berkshire?
Picture, Mary.
Whilst Clinton Whale was visited by a couple of playful fox cubs in his garden in Christchurch. Quite rough play, I'm thinking, for fox cubs. But you know what it's like if you've got children or grandchildren, they always want to be carried, don't they? Yes. Well, have a look at this from Oliver Mannion. I'm thinking we could go on Dragon's Den and we're going to pitch an idea for a stroller for snails. What do you think the chances are?
I think there's absolutely no chance at all.
Yeah, OK, fair enough. Meridian weather at ITV.com. In the best of the decent weather that we will get a bit of through the weekend. If you see any cute animals, we'd love to see the pictures.
Lots of R's there. Lots of R's this weekend.
Yeah, wrong kind of R's. But,
R for rain, probably.
Yeah.
Let's find out. Simon Parkin.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, as is the custom on a day like today, here's your usual picture just to prove that the rain can look quite pretty, although it's been fairly foul across the region today. This area of rain, courtesy of low pressure, will continue with the heavy burst for the next few hours. And then you can see a couple of fronts to the north that are going to slip down south, and as they do, they're going to bring colder air with them. So temperatures tomorrow quite disappointing compared to today. Back to the rain, though, some heavy bursts, perhaps even a bit of thunder still likely over the next couple of hours. The Met Office warning for the surface spray and the surface flooding runs out at 8 o'clock tonight. And then for the rest of the night, there might be a bit of patchy light rain in places, but a lot of dry weather. Not very warm though, 2 or 3 the overnight low. And then tomorrow might be a bit damp first thing, odd spots of light rain here and there, but we'll see some brightness start to develop after a cloudy start. And then we'll see a few showers cropping up into the afternoon. But the big change tomorrow is with those temperatures, 8 or 9 the high compared to the 16s and 17s we had earlier in the week. As for your high tide times in Southampton, 6:45 in the morning, 7:20 in the evening. And then Sunday dry and fine, cloud increasing later on.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Let's see what's happening on Monday's programme. And in honour of the Queen, who celebrates her 90th birthday next Thursday, there's plenty of celebrations and events taking place to wish Her Majesty many happy returns.
We shall let you know exactly what's happening, and we shall be there too. So we'll start a special series on Monday by looking at the impact of a royal visit and those lucky enough to have met her.
That's our Queen 90 series, Special Memories, on Monday, and we'll be asking you for your stories as well. Well, in just a moment we have the ITV Evening News tonight with Alistair Stewart and Ranveer Singh.
Stacey Poole's got our late news. Do join her if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.
See you Monday. Bye-bye.